Another is an anime that came out in 2012, which is 11 years ago. Crazy. But I didn't watch it that season because back then I didn't even know that there were animes besides Dragon Ball and One Piece. No. I watched this back in 2016 when I was in 10th grade. Me and my classmates were hanging out in one of our friends' house. There were like 10 of us in his room. 5 of our female friends and 5 of us dudes. I don't know what we were doing prior and why we were there. It was in the middle of summer, I think, and none of us wanted to leave because it was deadly hot outside. So, being the dumb teenagers that we were, you can just guess what we did. That's right. We watched Boku no Pico. It was the stupidest thing. We could have done literally anything, but we decided to watch this abomination. Why? I guess it's because it was already a meme back then, where if somebody who is new to anime asks for anime recommendations, automatically you say Boku no Pico. You don't even have to question it. You just say this garbage. All 5 of us guys were weebs, but some of the girls didn't know any better. So they thought it was a good idea to cast this on a 32-inch TV. I wasn't a part of it. Honest to Arambe, I was not a part of it. I thought it was stupid. Even now I think it was stupid. I haven't watched it before then, but I knew some shit. I knew some shit. There is an image that is ingrained in my mind that for the rest of my life, no matter how much therapy I take, I will not be able to forget. But I wasn't going to be like, you guys are watching that? Watching? You guys are watching? What the fuck? You guys are gonna watch that? That is so immature. Yeah, I'd rather hang myself. I'd rather uninstall my life. The sequence of events that came after were hilarious though. I was sat beside the door, so from my point of view, I could see everybody. We were scattered about because the room was not meant to accompany 10 people. It was huge and it had a bunk bed, but still not enough for the rest of us. So, they played this atrocity. Everybody was watching. Some of them were curious, and some of them knew what they were doing. While I was disturbed out of my mind. Nothing's even happening and I was already disturbed. So I was like half watching, half chatting with my friend who was also sat by the door. Just by the look on her face, I just knew she's already watched it. Or know of it, because she's doing the same thing as me, like half glancing then looking away when things get familiar. So we would just talk. So we had an excuse to not look at the TV. Probably said something juvenile. Boku no Pico, huh? Oh wait, I was 16. Boku no Pico, huh? There's something about Boku no Pico that makes you keep watching even though you don't want to anymore. It's like those pimple popping videos. It is utterly disgusting. We just want to know how these disgusting things will pan out. We somehow get to the ice cream scene. I think somebody skipped to that part. And one of the girls just had enough. What the fuck? Is this what you guys are watching? Wait, I gotta compose myself. The faces of the boys were just a work of art. I can't do it justice with this drawing. But it was like Ivan the Terrible. Times 4. It was utter shame. It was the most beautiful scenery I have ever seen come out of 4 weebs. It was hilarious. It got awkward for a while, just like most teenage hangout do. After that, we just watched YouTube videos. But the topic of the conversation was still about anime. Then, the girl whom I was talking to earlier said, "Oh my gosh, guys, have you guys watched Another?" Like she just remember it suddenly. Fun fact about this person, I kinda liked her back then. I don't know, 16-year-old me kinda thought her cute, so oh my gosh, the umbrella scene was epic. So somebody searched it up on YouTube, and there I saw the umbrella scene. If you have no prior knowledge about Another, and you just saw that scene, it would actually look good. It would actually seem interesting. Like, who killed who? Who set up the umbrella? Was there another person? Did they make the floor slippery? Whatever. At first, I thought it was in the same vein as Detective Conan. I thought it was a different kind of anime. Fun fact about me is that I already liked horror back then. I was already a fan of Exorcism, Conjuring, Insidious series. On paper, it sounds kind of vanilla in the horror genre, but as the time goes on, my library will deepen. Anyway, why am I defending myself? So I had high hopes. I think I've never watched a horror anime back then. I don't know why I haven't watched any, but I guess I didn't even know there were horror animes. She was hyping it up, and there I was thinking, man, if she liked it, I must also like it. So we have something in common. Buddy. You ready for a bit of taste of disappointment? So I got home and watched it all in one night. Spoiler warning now, I'm gonna spoil everything about this anime. Before that, marvel at me newts. You know I went hard when I used my glitter pens. If for whatever reason you wanna watch this anime, first of all don't, just watch this video. But I am gonna overanalyze this anime because why not? Although I'm warning you, it is disappointingly bad. If you must, just read the manga. The manga is much better. There's this character, Reiko, and she's much hotter in the manga. Keep an eye on her. Okay, let me tell you my thoughts first before I rewatch this anime. It's not really much because it has been 7 years since I watched this last. So number 1, the umbrella scene was underwhelming. Do I have that opinion because I was disappointed by the anime taste of my former crush? Probably, but it is an opinion nonetheless. Number 2, the ending was shit. Not gonna spoil it yet, but I didn't like the twist at the end. I thought it was bullcrap, and that's all I can remember. A student named Misaki died 26 years ago. Apparently, everybody loved her and was grieving for her. One day, as they were mourning her death in the classroom, a student said, "She's not dead. She's still there on her seat," and pointed at the empty table where Misaki once was sat. And everybody, including the teachers and the principal, went with it. Even at the graduation, they reserved a seat for her. And that's how the Curse of Yomi North's 9th grade class 3 started. Literally world building in the first 10 seconds. I thought they were info dumping at first, but then I realized it was an integral part of the story. For the first 6 episodes, this anime's storytelling was on par with, say, like Junji Ito or Stephen King even. Maybe that's a search. When I was rewatching this, I was actually intrigued and interested about the secrets of this story. We're thrown into this town that has a weird doll shop and a grandma who keeps repeating the same dialogue like an NPC. There's also an emo girl, the Curse of Misaki, and the Class 3. There was a great mystery about this world that you get to learn little by little. All the while they were keeping us and Koichi, the main character, in the dark. And as we get frustrated, Koichi also gets frustrated. At first I thought they were being methodical, taking the story slowly but surely, and building this world up so they could blow it up later. That's before knowing what is ahead. But in retrospect, the story fucked up majorly in many ways. The anime was great at withholding information. Too great actually. Rewinding a little bit in the story, Koichi wakes up in a hospital after his lungs collapsed, and he was visited by his 3 soon-to-be classmates from Yomi North. The redhead, 4 Eyes, Petra, I forgot their names. They were interrogating Koichi about his personal life, like if he's lived in Yomiyama or if he's new there. We don't know yet why this is happening, but we can tell there's a reason behind it. Once Koichi healed, he was sent home and we were introduced to his grandma and grandpa, who was praying in front of a picture on an altar, mourning the death of his daughter, Koichi's mom. Apparently, Koichi's mom died when he was giving birth to him. We were also introduced to his hot aunt, Reiko. She was teaching Koichi about the culture of the school because she's also an alumna of Yomiyama High.
Handle that.
Now the 4th thing you're going to need to know is this.
Koichi!
And before we could hear the 4th tip, it hard cuts to the next scene. That's it. At school, Koichi was to find out that they were to treat this girl in their class like she doesn't exist. This is Misakime. They met at the morgue in the hospital. But Koichi didn't understand why they had to treat this girl, who he clearly liked, by the way, like an alien in the classroom. So he kept pursuing her.
May, what are you doing here?
The fuck you care? In Koichi's journey of being a simp, we learn a little bit about Misakime. We learned that her left eye is only artificial and it can see dead people. I may or may not cringe in this scene, but that's beside the point. His classmates, stupidly enough, didn't tell him what is going on and just kept dropping hints like a 16-year-old who didn't know any better.
Yeah.
Are you alright?
What are you talking about?
I called because I thought you were in trouble. Akazawa looks like she's about to blow her top.
But why would she be angry?
Don't mess with things that don't exist.
What are you talking about?
Why? I do not know. Even after knowing why they did what they did, I still do not understand. Then, their worst nightmare started to happen. Kids started dying left and right.
What's wrong with her?
And then she got impaled by an umbrella. Ah, the umbrella scene. So the first to go was Petra. Turns out nobody pushed her, nobody put oil on the floor, nobody was on the bottom of the stairs manipulating the umbrella. She just fell to her own death. 16-year-old me thought that was the dumbest shit ever. What? You're so unathletic you can't push the umbrella away? If you weren't trying to act cute, you could have done something. There are a million other ways this scene could have ended up. And they chose the stupidest one. She could have just fallen off the stairs and broke her neck on the way down, and I'd believe that. But no, you have to use that later, don't you? That's what 16-year-old me thought. Today, I kinda still agree, but let's just say that was plausible, okay? Let's just say that the stars aligned and someone was just stupid enough to die because of a freaking umbrella. She just got bad RNG that day. But the next scene is stupider.
It was so horrific, the witnesses reported never to speak of it again.
The crime scene was so gruesome, the witnesses were told to never speak of it. And then the class just resumed the next day. What? I was mega confused when I saw this transition. There was no investigation whatsoever. If it was that gruesome, shouldn't the investigation be just as intensive? And the mother died the same day as well. Ain't that a little bit sus? As you can see in my notes, I thought this was swept under the rug, but apparently the anime just swept it under the rug. Now that I think about it, there was no form of investigation in this anime whatsoever. Maybe I'm asking way too much from this anime. Oh, forgive me. There was an investigation scene. It went like this. Do you have anything to do with the deaths? No. Okay. Class 3 thinks the curse has started, and they started freaking the fuck out.
Sure.
No, it's not me. It's not supposed to be me. I don't want to.
You could have just... But you had to jump on her, you horny motherfucker. Koichi is still confused as to what is happening. So he asked his hot aunt, Reiko, if she remembers anything about the curse, because apparently she was also in class 3. But Reiko was tripping and couldn't remember anything of value. She just remembers they went on a field trip on some shrine, and that's it. We were also told that Koichi was in this town, in Yomiyama, a year and a half ago.
How's it feel to be back after,
A year and a half? This was my first time coming here.
Why? Spoiler, we have no idea why. Because the story just went on without mentioning it till the last episode. And then shortly after, another one bit the dust. And another. And another. Another one. This woman was the nurse who took care of Koichi while she was in the hospital. Turns out, Koichi and her brother are classmates, so she's somehow related to the curse. Seems like anyone who interacts with Koichi dies. Now everybody starts suspecting him as the one who started the curse, if not the curse. So the class 3 started ignoring him as well, which I understand. I also wouldn't want to be close with someone who clearly is bad luck. But also, the class thought that by doubling the non-existent people will make the countermeasures stronger. And then, despite all the deaths, despite the whole class treating him like public enemy number 1, he still managed to be cringe. I physically cringe at this part. I had to skip it. Koichi, go fuck yourself. Imagine a guy who the class is suspecting is the one responsible for the recent deaths started doing this shit. I will just throw him out the fucking window and start doing the McGrady in his corpse with the Sasuke skin. The curse started after Misaki from 26 years ago graduated from Yomi North. The class took a picture and noticed that Misaki was in the photo even though he was already dead at that point. The story says that the class 3 of 1972, treating Misaki like he was still alive even though he was long gone, accidentally created a curse that plagued this specific section for years to come. Sometimes in the 9th grade, class 3, the classroom would be a desk short at the start of the school year, meaning there would be an extra student that is not supposed to be there. This extra student is a dead person, and they can alter the memory of everybody and anyone into thinking that they are in fact alive. The class wouldn't know who this dead person is because of the mind altering ability, and also because even the dead person doesn't know that they are in fact dead. Think of it like a skinwalker, although in this case, it is a ghost of a dead person. They don't necessarily mean harm, it is just a curse that the 1972 class 3 concocted. It doesn't always happen. There would be what they call off years. But if it was one of those years where there would be an extra person, students will die every month and anyone that has anything to do with the class. Even the family members of those students are not safe. The curse spreads up to the students' grandparents, their parents, cousins, and their siblings. In the first year, 6 students and 10 of the students' family members died over the course of the year. It is not a good time being in this class. So the class does this, what they call countermeasure, to counter the curse. I like to call it bullying, but it is a sort of ritual, if you will. They even have a student council for this specific task. And in this story, they're the 3 students that visited Koichi whilst he was in the hospital. The countermeasure is, they randomly pick a student and assume that they are the extra person, even though they do not know if they are in fact the dead person or not. They would ignore this poor sacrifice for the entirety of the school year and act like they don't exist. So if the class was a desk short at the start of the year, that would mean that there is an extra student. When they applied the countermeasure, it would be as if there was no extra student at all, because they are pretending that one of them doesn't even exist and is not even in the classroom. The reason behind this is that they would hope that this would bring balance to the force and will bring back the number of students back to its original count. In our case, this is Misakime.
I don't want to. If I said that, would you not do it?
Well, of course you have every right to refuse. However, if the calamity begins,
I understand.
I would like to say that if I was the countermeasure, I would have loved it, because you can not go to school and still pass. But then again, that would mean you'd had no social life, and that would have sucked for 9th grade me. Apparently, this magically works. This only worked 50% of the time though, which I would take. And sometimes the sacrifice would cave in with the treatment and will freak out and wouldn't want to do it any longer. The curse will also not work if you're not in Yomiyama. So even if you're in class 3, but you're halfway across the world, the curse will not be able to reach you.
If they have to be living in Yomiyama, does that mean anyone who leaves town would be safe?
Yes. Think of it like a cell phone signal that starts going out of range.
Why wouldn't they just flee town, you ask? I do not know. Another rule is that you're not supposed to talk about the sacrifice, ever. You're not supposed to talk to them, and you're not supposed to talk about them either. The students believe that by acknowledging the student's existence would affect the countermeasure, and the sacrifice's effort would have been for nothing. This is the explanation as to why they couldn't tell Koichi, the reason why they were treating Mei like she doesn't exist.
Don't mess with things that don't exist.
Fair enough, but could have avoided so much unnecessary ignorance from this guy if you just told him. Lastly, the extra student will be wiped from everybody's memory, and even on every document, once the school year was over.
Exactly. Then, at the end of the year, when the deceased disappears after graduation, the records revert to their original state, ultimately revealing the extra student. In addition, all memories of the deceased are lost. All is forgotten. It doesn't make any sense.
You can even hear the name being redacted from a recording.
And everyone would freak. But in the morning, there were no...
From the second half of the anime, they learned that there was a way to counter the curse. A former student of the Yomi High was able to stop the extra student and was also able to leave a clue for the future students who will be unfortunate enough to be placed in class 3. He created an audio recording and hid it somewhere in the class 3's former classroom. The gang was able to find the tape and listen to it. Katsumi Matsunaga, the alumnus, and his class 3 went on a field trip to Yomiyama Shrine to pray for the curse to be over. On their way back to the lodging, a storm suddenly passed and 2 of his classmates died. One was struck by lightning and the other fell off the mountain's cliff. Katsumi got into a fight with his other classmate and accidentally killed him. He didn't tell anyone else what had happened and left the body. But the next day, nobody seemed to notice that the classmate he had killed was missing. He upped and went to the location where the incident happened, only to find out that the body vanished without a trace. He asked his other classmates if they knew what had happened to the guy, but no one seems to know who he was talking about. He soon realized the one he killed was the extra student. It was the dead person. What everyone knows at first was that the extra person will be wiped from everybody's memory, but now we also learn when somebody kills the doppelganger, they will still be able to remember the another, but the other students won't.
And I'm the only one that remembers. But I get the feeling it's only a matter of time.
Although apparently, the memory of what had happened is slowly fading away from his mind as well. That's why he opted to create an audio recording. So the way to counter the curse is to kill the curse.
Send the dead where they belong. Send the dead back to death. And that's how to stop the calamity once it's begun.
And this, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone in between, is where the story goes to shit. On their field trip, on Yomiyama Shrine as well, while on their lodging, is when they listened to the recording that Katsumi left. The whole class 3 was on this lodging as well, but only 4 of them listened to the recording. After their meeting, they go to their separate rooms, process what they have just heard. Now, they know how to counter the curse, but they still do not know who the extra student is. And they'll never know, because of the ability of the Skinwalker. And then everybody started killing each other. It started with this guy who pushed his childhood friend, Four Eyes, off the balcony because he thinks he's the Skinwalker. Turns out he wasn't, because if he was the doppelganger, they would have forgotten he existed. He would still remember him, but Koichi and Mei wouldn't, but they still do. Then, a fucking psycho grandma came out of nowhere, killed whoever this guy is, set the lodging on fire, start killing the fucking students.
We're okay.
Where did this psycho grandma come from? And somehow, some way, that bitch from Bible Black got the fucking recording and announced it to the whole lodging.
The facts are, the calamity was stopped mid-year 15 years ago.
Based off one conversation with the redhead, they're somehow best friends now, even though the anime never insinuated that. They didn't even hint at the fact.
Because if you had died too, I don't think I could go on.
She decided that Misaki Mei was the dead person all along. She came up with this conspiracy theory that when she and Mei were in elementary school, apparently they were in the same elementary school, because they did, even though the anime never insinuated that, she still has her left eye. Now she doesn't. Crazy, right?
Patch over her left eye.
No.
Our Misaki lost her eye when she was 4 years old.
What? Then she...
Didn't even bother to ask what had happened all throughout those years. I'm not deliberately explaining this poorly. This is just a sequence of events that happened in the last 2 episodes. Now everybody's gunning for Misaki Mei. No questions asked. She's the dead person. The almighty Bible Black girl said so. Their teacher, the assistant homeroom teacher, forgot to mention her. But what was her name again? Anyway, she's probably not that important. She tried to protect Misaki, but ended up getting hit by a broom. It turns out, Four Eyes lived. Because why not? Students were dying left, right, and center. Some of the gang were able to evacuate, but Mei was missing. So Koichi decided to call her. Mei, where are you? I'm at XXX location, but don't come and find me. This is the level of writing of this anime, people. I'm not making this shit up. And now, for the reveal, that person is... Reiko. See what we did there? We made you think that it was one of the students who's the dead person, but actually it was a teacher. Totally not obvious at all, because we didn't tell you anything. Whenever there's a clue as to how and why she's the dead person, we hard cut it.
Fourth thing you need to know to prepare yourself for Yomi North is I keep the line between my work and private life completely clear. Be careful not to call me Reiko, even by mistake.
At school, I'm the assistant homeroom teacher.
And sometimes we downright wouldn't tell you at all, so that you wouldn't know.
Does any other class in our school have an assistant homeroom teacher? The 9th grade's class 3 is the only one with the right number of desks this year. And yet, the calamity still began in April, because the place that was short one desk was the faculty room.
Genius plan, if you ask me. There was no indication that Reiko was the Skinwalker. It was unveiled that they held a funeral a year and a half ago for Reiko, and that was what Koichi's father was hinting at in the phone call.
How's it feel to be back after,
But they just said they were there once, a year and a half ago. Who gives a fuck what happened a year and a half ago? I didn't know what I did a year and a half ago. They just said they were in Yomiyama a year and a half ago. But nobody said anything about a funeral. What? You want us to magically guess that? I wonder what happened a year and a half ago. Maybe somebody died, and it was Reiko, and they held a funeral. Is that what you were expecting? Huh? I didn't even know that the teacher and the aunt were the same person. I just thought they had similar character design. What about Misaki Mei? Turns out she wasn't the dead person after all. Is that it? Do we just accept the fact and move on? This is a lawsuit, right? This has got to be a lawsuit. I don't know why I'm so pissed off still. I could just discard this as an anime I didn't like and go on about my life. But the disappointment in my kokoro. So it turns out Reiko was murdered a year before the story happened. And mysteries like this, at the end of the film or anime, you'd expect to have an aha moment. Like, oh, now the story makes total sense. You know, like in The Sixth Sense. Oh shit, she wasn't cheating on Die Hard. With this anime, it's like, oh, that makes zero sense. There's more information about this anime, but I just don't give a fuck anymore. Turns out Misaki Mei seeing dead people is legit. I thought she was just being an edgelord. It only became relevant till the last episode, so whatever. Why she didn't use this to help the other students? I don't know. I don't fucking care. There's this white-haired librarian I wasn't able to talk about, but I can't be bothered. Rewatching this shit made me hate it even more. Get me out of my misery. If this is Edgy McEdgelord, made for edgy teens, this is horror. I read the manga because I thought it would be different because, you know, it's no secret that sometimes they differ. Even One Piece is not safe from this. And I was right. It was so much better. It actually did some foreshadowing about Reiko, although it's quite lacking still. Did a much better job than the anime. And the execution of the horror and the story were great. And the story actually makes sense. The author kept it simple, not like in the anime where there was a psycho grandma. Apparently, there was no psycho grandma originally, which is probably why it felt so out of place in the anime. If there are some scenes in the anime that you feel like shouldn't be there or made the story feel inconsistent, it's probably because it wasn't originally planned to be in the story. Reading the manga made me hate the anime even more. It was phenomenal. I utterly regret not just reading the manga. There are scenes that they didn't include, and I have no idea why. There's a scene with the redhead that made me physically jump back. My face was like inches away from my monitor because the panels weren't in the anime, and I was interested with what the original plan was. And the panel popped out, whoa. The manga also did better with the subtleties and nuances, like why we barely see students from other sections. Turns out, there's a very good explanation for that, and the anime just decided to not include it. The bird was even explained. I thought it was just irritating little git. Turns out, it has a depressing backstory. Why did the anime deviate so much from the manga?
All we had to do was follow the damn train, CJ!
Actually, no. I'm glad they left some stuff out, because the anime probably wouldn't be able to do it justice anyway. Although it still has the same outcome. But whatever the anime did, the manga did better. If the anime was a negative 2.5 in the fucking F tier where it belongs, the manga magically put it on a 5 or 6 B tier or something. Finally, I'm done with this shit. I don't know why this shit has a movie. Was Another that hot back in the day? That there needs to be 3 mediums used to tell this story? But hey, the execution was a little bit better. They actually said that Reiko was the homeroom teacher. But then they hit you with this.
Bruh.
Yeah. I actually don't have any more to say. The story is the same. This ain't Fate where different mediums will have different outcome. This is just regular old Another in movie form. I don't know why you'd watch this. I don't know why I watched it. I actually watched this on 2x speed because not only did I know what is going to happen, the CG and the acting were subpar as well. I think I would have enjoyed this story if this was a game. They tried all media except gaming. Genuinely, I think the story has potential. I think if it had marinated a little bit, explored a little bit more about the town, about the curse and the characters, this story would have been golden. But as it is now, it's just a rushed cash grab of an anime. If it was a game with the same pacing, with say like Persona 3, I could just imagine how good this would be. We could learn more about the students who were sacrificed. The white-haired librarian could have been more fleshed out. This could be done in a creepy school setting. But then again, maybe I'm asking way too much from this mediocrity. And there is no point wishing what could have been. Finally, I can say, I am done with this Nah. I'll see you next time.